Right now, it is time for a conversation with Andrew Reinhart. We call the segment Becoming Gift with Andrew Reinhart. You can find all things Andrew Reinhart related. I promised Andrew I would say his name 8 times. I'm just kidding. You can find all things Andrew Reinhart related at becominggift.com. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, Pat, Dave, and Ron. How are you?
Doing great, sir. How are you?
It's good you're finally fulfilling the terms of the contract.
yeah, that written contract that we never do. Yeah.
Next time I want my plate of caviar here, too.
Right. And the green M&Ms. Yeah, I got you.
What was your first tip-off? The fact that the contract was written in crayon?
Yeah, right.
So I want to talk a little bit about biological intelligence. We hear a lot about artificial intelligence these days.
Right.
And, of course, we as Catholics believe in our rational soul and that we have a intelligence by, the gift of the soul, the breath of God that we receive from the Lord in our creation. But our biology isn't exactly dumb. We don't often consider how important our body is, and I think as Catholics sometimes can underestimate what our body does. The reality is, in some sense, every cell in your body remembers. Every cell remembers what's happening around it, and the choices we make and the experience we have echo in our body through a process that's called epigenetics. So this word epigenetics, epi means over. So something over top of our genes. And we're going to go back to our, junior high science class here for a minute. But nearly every cell in our body contains the same exact DNA. Whether it's an eye cell or a heart cell or a skin cell or a nerve cell or a blood cell, the same DNA. But they're all different. How does that work? There needs to be something other than DNA that makes the cell what it is. And part of this encoding process, the cell encodes for the creation of proteins called genes. And of course, we know we get our DNA from our parents. So the DNA is read and transcribed by RNA, and ribosomes translate RNA into proteins. Right? That's the basic process. But on top of this DNA, there's what we call the epigenome, and there's basically, you might think of it as like little switches. The technical term is methylation. And it turns these genes on and off. And some of these epigenetic changes are permanent, right? That's what makes, even though all your cells have the same DNA, some of them are heart and some of them are eye and some of them are skin. And other of these switches are affected by our behavior and the environment you're in. So we affect our gene expression by the life we live. Here's a few studies that talk about this. This is from 2018. A study published in Frontiers of Psychiatry found that a group doing moderate exercise 5 days a week for 30 minutes a day experienced epigenetic changes that reinforced sobriety from alcohol.
Oh, wow.
Right, so these were patients that identified themselves as having an addiction. And by doing 5 days a week of 30 minutes of exercise, now notice the very careful language it uses, right? Epigenetic changes that reinforce sobriety, meaning exercise doesn't, of course, cure addiction. Right. But what does it? Primes the body physiologically to reduce some different physiological states that are accompanied with addiction at times. Here's another one about parenting. And of course, don't freak out about this. The enemy likes to whisper in mothers' and fathers' hearts about how they raise their children. But a 2016 article published in the Journal of Child Psychiatry found an association between a mother's diet, particularly if it was unhealthy during pregnancy, and the methylation of genes associated with hyperactive symptoms in the children when they're much older. This is interesting, right?
Yeah.
The mother's behavior affecting the epigenome of the baby in the womb. So these are just different examples of the way that behavior affects the expression of these genes, and then these different genes, of course, affect the body,
right,
and the feelings you have and the emotions you have and the hormones you have and all these other things. And in so many ways in our faith, sometimes we talk about the body being a sacrament of the soul and a small s sacrament, right? It's a physical thing that expresses this hidden reality. It's something we experience with our senses that gives us an experience of a spiritual reality that we wouldn't have access to otherwise. And so I think epigenetics, it's really good news, right? Because we can change our genes. Right. We can change the expression of our genes, right? All these genes that are methylated, that are switched on and off by behavior and environment, we can change our behaviors and change our genes, right? And this is something we know from our faith, right? We can be redeemed. No matter how we've sinned, we can be forgiven. And no matter how vicious we are, we can grow in virtue. everything we do has meaning, especially for the body. Our environment, our behavior creates an environment. So sometimes this is expressed this way, that genotype plus environment equals phenotype, which is the actual lived experience of the body. So everything we do is important. And the same plays out in our faith, right? We know that everything we do is important. It has meaning. We're either going closer to God or further from God. This lie that there's somehow neutral actions.
Right.
Right? There's no such thing as a neutral action. We're created good, and if we're doing things in accord with our nature and according to God's design, we're going closer to him. We're glorifying him. And if we're doing things contrary to our design and contrary to what's been revealed to us, we're going further away. And our body really sings the same truth. We're either doing behaviors in accord with our nature, and we're growing healthier as a result of that. And with the part of that, a small piece of that puzzle is experiencing the gene expression that supports health and supports flourishing, or the opposite is true. We're going to live a life that ends up making us less healthy, and our body will adjust in 1,000 little ways to account for that. But ultimately, we're not going to be the best version of ourselves.
Well, and it comes back to free will, right? And so our body should be a reflection of this, that by the acts or our choices within our own free will, we're going to receive either positive or negative results. So looking at this 5 days of moderate exercise, having the ability to give us a strength to overcome difficulties in our life makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, and the thing I love about this study is sometimes you think, well, I got to do something different for 10 years, and then I can be better.
Right.
No, today's today. Forget about yesterday.
Yeah.
Even just a little bit of good living, a little bit of time with the Lord, a little bit of living the life you feel called to can make a massive difference in your outlook.
I remember when I worked with teenagers, that was one of the things that research was pointing to for even depression. Just get out and move, get some exercise, get those endorphins going, so there is such a connection here. And like you said, Andrew, the idea is we're not just physical beings, we're also spiritual beings. It all integrates. And so I love the way you pull this all together. And especially because we always have this debate in psychology of nature, nurture, what is it? And I always say it's both. So, and you certainly prove that.
Yeah, and there's even a blurred line because nature is just the nurture from the past.
Yeah.
Right, echoing in the organism. So what I think what it is we're either living according to God's design or we're not.
Yeah.
And that's how simple it is. And so in previous sections we talked about these kind of 4 axes of movement versus rest, of diet versus fasting, of having purpose and meaning versus managing stress, and solitude versus friendship and relationship. And then it's by living in those 4 domains of following God's design that we can experience a flourishing in our life.
Yeah. And finding the balance. I mean, that's, just what you're talking about, prudence there. That's great. Love it.
Yeah, and the struggle is always getting started, right? So don't get overwhelmed. Start small and continue to build up.
That's right.
Go out and take a
Right
walk.
on right now, right today.
Take a walk. That's
It'll
right.
make a world of difference.
Yep.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. A beautiful gift, Andrew Reinhart. Thanks.